So let's go to the next biggest question is like different ways of getting your patients in starting up a dental clinic, because the startup obviously has no patient experience, right? So how are you getting those people in?
So I'll let Rohan go here because his is like a little bit like newer, and then I like to call my practice a little bit more established now.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, it's really hard, like, to get new patients, especially like in a. So my area is not as booming as Keshu's area. Mine's like more established. In fact, Illinois is actually losing population at this point. So getting new patients in is a little tricky. It's a little hard. So I mean, I did everything from Google marketing to Facebook marketing to Instagram to sending out direct mailers to like setting up like flyers and going to all the other local businesses and stuff like that. So for me, the most thing that's the most thing that's been consistently working for us is being listed on insurance companies' websites. Like when you put in our zip code, I don't know how, but we are listed as number one on almost all insurance companies' websites. So I think a lot of my patients do come through that.
Sometimes I've heard that for insurance companies, for you to be on the first page, like the name of your clinic should be from A or something like that. So that's like chronologically that just starts first.
No, it doesn't. No, I don't think so. I don't know how, but I'm like listed on like almost all the insurance companies that I go to. Like, unfortunately or fortunately,
well, fortunately, right?
90.
Thank your luck.
Yeah.
So it's but like 90% of my patients are dental. So and I am listed like on the first page or the first name, or if you look at my zip code, I'm the first person listed there. So
that's good. What about you, Keshri?
Yes, I think it's kind of like new patients and how to acquire. Like, it can be very scary when it's a startup, but again, it kind of goes back to the vision of like how you choose your location. So, Rohan, I will say, like, as a contrast, like, although Texas is booming, Austin has pockets that are already built out, and there's no people moving into those older neighborhoods too. So if I were to put a practice sort of like on the flip side in that location, I would have a much harder time kind of attracting new patients. So it just, I think like the location and the demographics cannot be stressed enough.
Right.
And doing a little bit more homework on the front end for that pays off. So like luckily we chose a good spot that was growing, had newer houses coming up and stuff like that. So there was ingress of population. So yeah, we did all the usual stuff. I actually did a lot of ground marketing in the early days, like just showing people that we were visible and present, and like in school events and local town events and fairs and stuff like that. So that helped a lot. And then obviously mailers and Google AdWords and Facebook. But after a point in time, word of mouth gets there. Like my area is good for we were very good about getting emergency patients in. So they are very, as every dentist knows, they're always very grateful.
Yeah, get them out of pain. They love you.
Yeah. And then one note I'll make on the insurance company website. So there's two ways of like kind of ranking higher on those. One is if like you're part of a corporate, then you show up 5 or 6 different times, because for the same entity, they have 5 or 6 doctors. It could be 5 or 6 locations. And then the second thing is I negotiated my rates with insurance companies. So my fees are a lot higher. Hence I rank a lot lower. So Rohan, if you were wondering why you're going higher on Delta, it's probably because there were a lot of other premier providers that are not PPO providers. And if you're a PPO provider, your fees are lower, so you rank higher.
Mm-hmm.
So
that is true.
Yeah,
that's typically what it is with insurance companies.
So I was wrongly informed. Thank you for letting me know. But then
it used to be.
Yeah, it used to be that way. Like that's what I had heard, so I said that. But thanks. So the other thing is, how do you negotiate with the insurance companies? Because a lot of people say that they don't really negotiate their terms. Like, do you hire someone or do you negotiate yourself?
So there's a few people in this insurance PPO negotiation world. There's Unlock the PPO. There's PPO Profits. There's like a couple of Unitas and some like Maritza Duran. So there's several people that negotiate on your behalf. So it's very easy. You just have to sign up with one of them. They charge about $5,000 to $7,000, but I think that's like
makes sense. If it works out for majority of your patients, it makes sense. Right? I hope that helps.
Yeah, it has to. I think it has to make sense financially for me and the patient, or for me to be able to even spend the time with the patient. And we're building private offices. Rohan has a private practice, and so do I. So you want to give a little bit more kind of bespoke attention, more like customized care to the patient. Yeah. So it is important. Although I think like I'm working way too hard, but I think every dentist feels like that.
Yeah. I mean that extra attention is what retains the patients and sends more through your door. So, tell me about certain things about the staffing situation. Like, how did you all first find the people that you needed for your clinic? Because that must have been the biggest task, right?
Yeah. And I'll share like one sort of tidbit on like teamwork. So I read this book about like the U.S. Navy SEALs. So the Navy SEALs are like, historically they have the harshest trainings, but they're always sent into like, really, really tough environments where they may or may not survive. So one of the Navy SEAL captains said that, when I want to build a team, I can pick the smartest person, but I know that if we pick the smartest person on the team, they only care for themselves. And he's like, my direction as a Navy SEAL is to leave no man behind. But if I pick somebody who's not the smartest, but is more collegiate and cares more about the team, then I know all of us are going to survive this mission, not like every man for themselves. And that's what I think sometimes it's like the dental practice is more of a team. It's not a family, because in family you're always fighting and nobody's the clear leader, but it's just a well-worn, like a well-oiled team where if you have like one person who's fantastic and amazing at their job, but on the flip side, they're not a team player, that is way more toxic to your practice than having a winner. And then, in the short term, like I used to have a hygienist who was like that. She was amazing with patient care, but just not a team player at all. And I mean, I had to make the hard decision of letting her go because I could see that everybody else was like unhappy. And we've all had like those toxic personalities. And again, it's up to like us as, the leaders and the torchbearers of culture to, and I know this all sounds rah-rah, when you have a small team, Rohan, it's only the three of you guys potentially.
As you grow, I'm sure it'll be important. Yeah. Like developing a good
don't pick.
Yeah, very important.
Yeah, so I always say don't pick the smartest person, pick the person that can work well with others, because that goes much longer and that takes you much farther than like you get an amazing treatment coordinator who like will get patients to do treatments like anything, and then on the flip side she doesn't do any of the work and doesn't do her part of the roles and responsibilities. And yes, you're definitely going to see a drop in revenue, but long term I don't think that's healthy for the practice.
Yeah, so what I got from this is, rather than choosing stronger personalities, choose team players.
Yeah, I think it's just more like team player. I think it just has to be a team player. You can't have like a solo, one person trying to do it all and one person
then it just it wreaks havoc.
Yeah.
All right. So, what about, you already spoke about hygienists, and Rohan, are you starting with the hygienist soon, or are you planning to?
I am planning to get a hygienist, but it's like, with the new practice, like it's a roller coaster. Like some days I have like a full schedule with and most of it's full of hygiene, and then some days I have like so many open spots, and I'm like, okay, I don't know when would be the right time to get a hygienist. So I'm still struggling a little bit with that, where we have we almost have like a full schedule pretty much every day, but that full schedule doesn't happen until a day before. Like it's literally like if you look at the schedule a week in advance, there's probably one person on the schedule, and then like when you look at it a day before, it's like 90% full.
Basically, you're still in the predicting of your schedule stage, right?
Yeah, I still don't know what the right answer is.
I mean, I think once you're like booked at least 2 weeks, and then you can probably think about getting a part-time hygienist or someone to help you out.
Yep.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just, I just have to wait and see, like, how long is it going to take me to get a new patient in. So, right now, I mean, I can get anybody in about less than
Right,
2 days.
right.
So
So that's actually good to know how stressful it is, considering in present situations when you start up, right? I mean, it is stressful, especially in a saturated
yeah,
area, right?
yeah.
And then let's talk about like how long is your typical day? Like, with all of these things going on, along with patient work, admin work, and I don't know if you guys give a call back to certain patients who've had longer treatments and stuff like that, or your staff gives them a call. How long is your day as an owner? That's my question.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm like a few steps removed because I'm not, quite in the trenches in a way. So typically my day is, well, I'll kind of take a step back. So I have an associate dentist, so he works full time. I work 3.5 clinical days, and I work one non-clinical day, and like another half. My practice is very heavy in Invisalign, so that takes some non-clinical time away. But with a bigger team, it's easier to delegate. So, that post-care call, I have somebody doing that every day, one assistant doing that every day. Or I'll text some patients if I feel like it's been a particularly, like, I'll place dental implants. So if it's been a longer implant surgery, I'll text them evening off. But yeah, in the beginning, I used to call all new patients, like new patient welcome call, and then call anybody who I numbed. So the hours were definitely longer in the beginning.
Gets
But
a little easier.
now, of course, yeah. And then the amazing thing about Rohan's startup is like he said, he has like so much open chair time that he can work in a patient any time.
Yeah.
But with respect to hygiene, it has to be funneled. So I would say so how I started, I hate doing cleanings. So in my 4th month, I started booking heavily like Thursdays and Fridays where I could get temp hygienists. I started booking new patients more on Thursdays and Fridays and fewer on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So if the hygienist came, there were at least 3 or 4 new patients for her. And then recalls, when my new patients, when I booked them in 6 months for recalls, it was again Thursdays and Fridays. So in 6 months, the hygienist would have like a few recalls on the Thursdays and Fridays, and then also the new patients. So it was by the 6-month time, it got pretty easy. Our one hygienist was constantly booked, and then we started giving her more days, and then we kind of just
got her in full time.
A little bit ahead of time, but because every day she would see like 2 or 3 patients, or maybe 3 or 4, so she wasn't fully booked. But it was way better because it opened up chair time for me to do restorative procedures. So being strategic in how you grow the practice is also something that you constantly have to see and revamp and kind of evolve, exactly, and adapt to whatever the situation is.
Right. Very good to know. And how do you decide about the staff compensation? Like, do you guys test them, or like if you can do this, then you get this much, or if you can do this or do something like that? Like, how do you decide when a patient, when a staff comes to you and says, I want a raise? One of my friends, Nanny, every month she would be like, I want a raise. What if this happens in a dental clinic? What do you do?
Well, but you're supposed to have, I would say, yearly reviews instead of like randomly coming up to you and telling you they want to raise. No, it doesn't work that way. So there always should be a plan for like a yearly or 6-month review, like where you can talk about performance and then give them a raise if needed. So it shouldn't be, if they're coming up to you every week, every 2 weeks and asking you for a raise, then they're probably not a good fit for you. Then, or you tell them the office policies that we review at the end of your 6-month anniversary and 1-year anniversary. So that's...
Yeah, so I think the question kind of can be answered in 2 ways, right? So number one, obviously setting like a very clear communication and list of expectations and protocol. And then number 2 is, why is this team member constantly asking for raises? So number 1, I do a 90-day probation or 90-day review with the team member. And even taking a step back, right? Like in this post-COVID world, if you find somebody who shows up on time and who can, who has a pulse and who's breathing and who's not like, I don't know, not hungover, you hire them. But my again, and this was not always my philosophy, but my philosophy has always been kind of pay well and get good people. And then once you get them, set the expectation very, very clear of what you expect from them. So they're given like a list of like responsibilities when they're hired. They're given that. And then I sit with them at 90 days and I review where they started, where they're at now. And I tell them, if you do these tasks, if I already know them coming in, they don't know how to do, for example, cord packing or making temps, I say in 90 days, if you learn this, you get like a $50 raise or $1 raise. Of course, like their dollar raise is more than just 1 or 2 items. I pick 3 things for them that are most important for me and my practice. And then I kind of drill it into their heads that kind of what Rohan said, right? Like that raises are not based on the length of time, but they're based on the amount of responsibilities they shoulder. So, for example, I have one person in my office. She started at 16. She's now at 25, and she's been with me 3 years. So it's not like annually. I gave it sporadically, but I also gave it in recognition of the growth that she had made with me. And then sometimes you have to manage out at the same time, like if all of your employees are high performing and they're getting constant raises, and then you have 2 that are sticking out like a sore thumb and then they're just there, then you have to manage them out by writing employee reviews and giving deadlines and verbal and written communication. And so that's one part of how I handle staff reviews. And a mentor once said to me is that you will always have an employee stay with you longer if you give them the raise before they ask for it, if they deserve it. So, right. For example, I have a couple of employees who did really well, and I started seeing good potential in them 6 to 8 months. So I gave them their sort of yearly raise at 6 to 8 months instead of waiting for them to ask me at the year, like, oh, I've been here a year, what more can I want? And every time I give them a raise, I also tell them 3 things that will get them another raise. And I said, it's up to you. Whether you take 3 months to do it, 6 months to do it, 9 months to do it, a year to do it, you will be qualifying for your next raise when I see this from you. And some take it like a challenge and they're off to the races, and some kind of don't, and then you kind of wonder, are they a good fit for your practice? The second thing I've learned is with employees, again, you have to kind of come with it from a lot of compassion, right? Is somebody because I had an employee who got divorced, and then it was and she has 4 girls, 4 kids. So if she's asking for a raise, why is she asking for it, right? Is it because she's doing, as an employer, I want to say, well, if you do all these things, you'll get a raise, but then her personal situation has changed. So I said, I really would want to help you, and I feel for you. Instead of a raise, can I offer you more hours? Because for your raise, as we discussed, we needed these responsibilities to be learned. And I know you're going to take some time, but I also want to find a creative solution for how you can make more money at the practice. So then that's what she ended up doing. She ended up working an extra day and a half, and she's happy, and yeah. I'm happy. I mean, it's a great employee. And as I said, I think it's almost like my responsibility to find a creative solution to her answer. So, and sometimes we can talk about bonuses and incentives, but some of my team members are incentivized and bonused and some are not. So it just kind of depends on what tone you want to set for your practice and where you want to take it and what growth you're expecting for yourself and for your practice.
Wonderful. Now, how about the accounting and stuff? When are you hiring the accountant for your practice right away when you start up, or are you doing it, or how is it going on?